Ethan Walker had just inherited a 3,400-acre ranch from his grandfather. The centerpiece of the property was a beautiful private reservoir surrounded by untouched wilderness. His family had carefully protected the land for generations. Ethan planned to continue that tradition. Every morning, Ethan inspected the ranch from one end to the other. The reservoir remained calm and perfectly maintained. Everything looked peaceful from a distance. Then something unusual caught his attention. Several boats were already moving across the reservoir. None of them belonged to Ethan or his ranch. He counted more boats arriving from the nearby neighborhood. Something clearly wasn't right. Boats were tied directly to Ethan's private dock. People had treated the area like a public marina. No one had asked for permission. Ethan decided to investigate before reacting. Ethan visited the HOA clubhouse to ask about the boats. Melissa Grant introduced herself as the HOA president. She listened briefly before responding with confidence. Her answer surprised Ethan. Melissa claimed the neighborhood had always used the reservoir. She believed every resident should continue enjoying the water. Ethan calmly asked if anyone had verified ownership. The conversation quickly became serious. Ethan presented the original property deed. The documents clearly identified the reservoir as part of the ranch. Several residents quietly examined the maps. Melissa remained unconvinced. Melissa handed Ethan an official HOA notice. She insisted residents would continue using the reservoir. Ethan folded the notice and placed it inside his folder. He planned to verify every legal detail. That afternoon, Ethan met attorney Robert Hayes. Together, they reviewed every historical record. The documentation traced ownership back for generations. Everything appeared well documented. Robert compared old surveys with modern county records. Every map showed the reservoir inside Ethan's property. No documents suggested public ownership. The legal records were remarkably consistent. Ethan requested a fresh professional survey. Sarah carefully measured every shoreline marker. Each reading matched the official county records. The property boundaries were unmistakably clear. After receiving complaints, Sheriff Morgan visited the property. He listened carefully to both Ethan and Melissa. His goal was to understand the situation fairly. Both sides presented their documents. The sheriff carefully examined every document. The county records consistently identified Ethan as a landowner. Nothing suggested the HOA owned the reservoir. The facts became increasingly clear. Melissa called an emergency HOA meeting. She insisted the neighborhood should keep access to the reservoir. Several board members questioned the legal risks. The room quickly filled with debate. As the sun set over the reservoir, Ethan reflected on everything he had learned. His family's property had been carefully protected for generations. Now it was his responsibility to defend it using facts and the legal process. The biggest chapter of the dispute was only just beginning. Sheriff Morgan carefully compared every legal document. The county survey matched Ethan's deed perfectly. Nothing indicated the HOA owned the reservoir. The evidence continued to support Ethan's ownership. Melissa insisted the neighborhood had used the reservoir for years. The sheriff calmly explained that long-term use did not change legal ownership. Ethan quietly listened without interrupting. The discussion became increasingly serious. Ethan met with Robert Hayes to prepare every detail. Historical deeds, surveys, and tax record were carefully organized. Nothing was left incomplete. Preparation would be their greatest strength. Robert compared decades of historical maps. Every version showed the same shoreline boundaries. The reservoir had always belonged to the ranch. The records left little room for disagreement. Ethan documented every part of the shoreline. He photographed docks, boats, and access roads. Each image accurately recorded the property's condition. Everything was carefully organized. Ethan calmly introduced himself to several residents. Many believed the reservoir belonged to the neighborhood. He respectfully showed them the official property records. The information surprised them. Several homeowners reviewed the documents together. Many admitted they had never seen the official property boundaries. Questions replaced assumptions. The atmosphere became noticeably quieter. Melissa called another emergency board meeting. She argued that the HOA should continue defending its position. Several directors questioned the increasing legal costs. The room became divided. The board carefully examined the county records. Several members realized the HOA boundary ended before the reservoir. Confidence slowly disappeared. The legal reality became difficult to ignore. Ethan improved security around the reservoir. Clear property signs marked every entrance. New cameras monitored activity around the shoreline. He wanted complete documentation going forward. Fresh shoreline markers were installed. Sheriff Morgan compared them with the official survey. Every location matched the county records. The property boundaries were unmistakably clear. Independent surveyors completed another detailed inspection. Their measurements confirmed every previous survey. The reservoir remained entirely inside Ethan's property. The documentation became even stronger. Ethan quietly overlooked the reservoir from above. His family had preserved this land for generations. He remained patient and focused on the facts. The legal process continued. Robert assembled every document into a complete legal file. Historical records, surveys, and deeds were carefully indexed. Nothing relied on memory or opinion. Everything was supported by official documentation. A certified legal notice arrived at the HOA office. Melissa immediately recognized the attorney's letterhead. The disagreement had officially entered the legal process. Ignoring the matter was no longer possible. Melissa carefully read every page of the notice. The documents described Ethan's ownership rights in detail. Several board members became increasingly concerned. The situation had become far more serious than expected. Ethan watched the evening light reflect across the quiet reservoir. His family's land remained exactly as it had for generations. The legal process was only beginning, but the facts were firmly on his side. The most important chapter of the story was still ahead.